Hello again. Today I'm going to speak about how I have survived the first 3 months of my grief journey. And the most important thing I think to say out at the start is that I have survived for 3 months. That was never a certainty. There were many times where I didn't think I would make it through, and I certainly didn't want to. When Linda passed, it was sudden, it was so unexpected, and my world just fell apart. I couldn't believe that you could experience such feelings that I've been through. If you're watching this because you also have lost the most important person in your life, welcome. You'll find that you're on a journey that you didn't want, with a future that you didn't want. And the most important thing to say is you do have a future. I certainly thought that I didn't, but I have. I've now got a purpose, and you too will find a purpose. It may not feel like it, but there are people out there for you. I'm there for you. If you need to reach out, I'm here. So profound loss. Who would have thought that would become the major part of a life? I certainly didn't. Linda passed and everything changed. It hits you in a way that you can't ever expect. I mean, I've lost people in my life before, but nothing has hit me in any kind of a way that losing Linda has. The sudden realization that the most important person in your life is not there. The fact that you miss the everyday things, just sitting and having a coffee, making tea, watching the TV, in our case, a lot of the time going for walks, all gone. I came across a little video the other day, and it's just a silly old doorbell video from the security system. And in the background, you could hear us chatting and laughing, and it was amazing. I don't know what we were talking about, to be fair, but just our general day-to-day of being together, of sharing life in general, was amazing. And suddenly all that had gone. Initially, I felt shock. I don't know how long that lasted. There are different stages, I know, but it was pretty awful. When the shock finally passes and realization dawns on you, and you suddenly think, yes, I do accept that Linda's gone, but do you? Do you really accept that? It's a very, very strange feeling that you know when she's not there, and you know that she's not going to be there, but you hope, and you wake up in the morning and there's that brief fraction of a second until reality comes back to you again. And that brings me on to the symptoms that you can find. I say when you wake up in the morning, all well and good if you can get to sleep, to be fair. I've been sleeping initially, maybe, it seemed like I never thought that I went to sleep, but I woke up in the morning and I knew I woke up. So I must have been to sleep, but it was, you sleep for a part of an hour and then you wake up. Your brain tortures you with all sorts of thoughts in the middle of the night. What if I had done this? What if I hadn't done that? Did I ever say things enough? Did I say too many things? All these thoughts, they just keep running around in your head and stop you from actually going to sleep. Life changes in many ways. I obviously like to walk a lot, and I thought initially I'll go to some of the places that we would have been to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, just to see if it felt comforting. It didn't. It's strange. There are some places that I can go to and everything's fine. And I do have memories of us being there and being happy. But other places, not a chance. I've cried so much. In public, in private. And it's not good for everybody else, but it's good for me because it's definitely good to get it out. You shouldn't hold in all the emotions, and there are so many emotions, but it's just not really fair on the general public. Interestingly, today I was sitting in a cafe having my lunch, and over the music tannoy, whatever you call it, they started playing Out of Reach by Gabrielle. And goodness me, I was fighting back the tears there. One of those songs that it just means a lot. There are other songs that I play all the time that used to be our sort of things that we would play, and that's fine. There are other songs that I've come across, and there are some really good ones on YouTube about loss and loss of your partner and everything. And sometimes just to sit and listen to sad songs is great. It seems a little bit of a daft thing to do, perhaps, but unless you've been in this situation, you won't understand. There are other triggers. I've been into the supermarket and I suddenly find myself walking down an aisle, and it can be, I don't know, just general groceries, and you suddenly think, oh goodness me, yes, Linda bought those last, and you're off again. I've been into a farm shop and I got in the door and it was too much and I had to come out again. Some cafes can't do it. Luckily, other places are really good, and I can go to them. One of the other things I found difficult is actually throwing away some of the things, the last items that Linda bought from our supermarket shop, for instance. I've now got cupboards full of empty boxes that I just cannot bring myself to throw away. That day will come, I hope. Never mind. As well as the lack of sleep, of course, there was a long time where I just felt sick all the time. I felt headaches, just weak, not with it. Brain fog, there's another thing. Goodness me, you lose track halfway through a sentence sometimes, let alone through just a conversation. Your whole identity changes. One minute you're part of a couple. It's me and you, Robert and Linda, Linda and Robert everywhere. All of a sudden, it's just me. And that takes an awful lot of getting used to. That first time when you go into a cafe and they say, table for one, and you just like to give them a slap because it's not nice. I don't know what the appropriate greeting would be, but yeah, table for one isn't nice. One place I went, there was a large table for about 8, and there was a couple down one end, and I got sat right at the other end of the table, feeling like an absolute gooseberry, is it? Oh, that wasn't good. But never mind. So, how have I managed to get through all this terrible time? Well, the main thing is support from other people. And I have found one of the real things that has stood out is that people are a lot better than you think they are, or that I thought they were. Some people you lose touch with. Some people can't cope with grief, they can't cope with somebody else's loss, and that's fine. Some people, for whatever reason, just choose to keep away, and that's fine. But other people step up. And when they do, you appreciate it more than anything. I've got close family that has stepped up. Absolutely brilliant. A friend who I used to work with some years back got back in touch and has been an absolute rock. And I cannot thank her enough. Absolutely wouldn't have be where I am now without that support. I'm also really fortunate in that the people I work for have been so incredibly supportive. First of all, they allowed me as much time as I needed to before I went back to work. And I soon felt that actually it was a good idea to go to work, just to, I won't say take your mind off things, but to have a focus during the day. And it was hard, very hard. But I interact with the public, and you can almost put on a little act. You know, it's like, good morning, how is your day? Talk about what they're buying, for instance. And it just takes a few moments away from the 24/7 heavy weight of everything else pushing down on you. And I found that helpful. But as I said, the people that run where I work, absolute brilliant stars. Without them, again, I would be lost at this moment. It has made such a difference to everything. Some of the things that people say are interesting as well. People say, oh, you're being very strong. And I think, no, I'm barely surviving. It's funny what there must be the way people see you, I suppose, going through a situation. But how do people think that you're going to get through this sort of thing? And you don't get through it anyway. But that's what people think. Some people think that, oh, enough time has carried through there, it's time you moved on, or you should be better than this now. Well, every single person goes through their own grief, particularly a profound loss of your partner, in a different way. This is something I think, well, I know that you never get over. That's a terrible saying. You learn to live with the loss as part of your life and how your life moves on. And again, it's one of those really challenging things, is trying to interact with people who quite often have got the best of intention, but sometimes they can say something and it hurts. But you know the people that mean well, and if they say something like that hurts, try not to dwell on it. They don't mean it. They've got a lot of the time the best of intentions to try and help you. And the trouble is, nobody knows how best to do that. Certainly not me. It's a journey that I never wanted to be on, and I've been flailing around in the dark for such a long time, and now I'm trying to come into the light again and move forward. I found, looking into as I mentioned on my previous video, the spiritual side of things has become even more important to me. I know, yes, I know that Linda lives on. She's in my heart. And I know in my heart that there's more than just this life. It's my own personal feelings, and I will talk about that again in the future. But that is something that has helped me through an awful lot. Initially, I went into local churches and I would sit in the quiet, and that was actually helpful. But the whole religious side of things isn't for me. I like the peace and quiet, and there is a feeling in a 1,000-year-old church, but not really my scene, I don't think. What I have found really important, so important, is finding a group of like-minded people who, luckily around where I live, there are several bereavement cafes, bereavement groups organised by the local libraries. I've been fortunate enough to join one of these groups. I say join, you just turn up, it's all everybody welcome. And everybody there has been through a loss. Everybody has experienced a different type of loss. Nobody has the same scenario. Even if you say, oh, my wife, my husband, my mother, whoever has passed away, it's different for every single person. But by sharing stories, by sharing feelings, by sharing chocolate biscuits, it helps get through a day. And again, that is something that has become so important to me. It really is the highlight of my week, which sounds a strange thing, but it has been, and it's wonderful. YouTube is your friend, I've noticed as well. My search history used to be old cars, traveling, all sorts of strange things. Nowadays, it's grief support and spiritual matters. But there are some really good channels on YouTube. There's a chap on here called Keith, and his channel is called There's No Map for This. Now, Keith lost his wife, I think it's about just over 9 months ago, and he's been putting out weekly videos, absolute raw videos of his whole experience. And looking through those, I found it really, really helpful to associate what he's going through. And you notice certain patterns, certain feelings and emotions, because obviously everyone is going to have certain emotions during this kind of loss. But it's actually really useful to see and hear how somebody else is facing the same issues. So I highly recommend his channel. There are some other really good channels. Interesting, most American, most support, not just YouTube, but throughout life, appears to be heavily supporting women as opposed to supporting men. Although there are some good, well, really good supports too, but I think the majority is for widows rather than widowers. But there we go. Keith's there, I'm here now, whatever use I can be. However, another channel which I really think is useful, Advice with Craig. Look him up. Really good bloke. There's a podcast called Life with Grief. That one has had some really good, useful episodes as well. Life, Loss and Hope. Now, that's a channel, and there are some good videos on there, some really good talks. And interesting, Life, Loss and Hope was the very first poem that I wrote following Linda's passing. Who knew I would write poetry? Sadly, certainly not Linda. But that one came out, and if you ever want to hear any of my efforts, put a comment in, I'll see what I can do. I've done 3 now, and I've got another one brewing because the title came to me last night. I woke up in the night, had some thoughts, the title of the next poem, noted it down, and I've been working on that during the day. But yeah, interesting that there was a channel that I then came across with the same name. The other channel I'd like to recommend is The Grief Table, run by a lady called Jamie, who's lost her son. And it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, all over the place. Really good advice and information on there. The main thing that I found that's helped me to get through this terrible time, initially I lost my purpose. I lost all hope. And this project has given me a purpose. The fact that I can do something hopefully useful, raise some money for some really worthwhile charities, all whilst keeping Linda's memory alive and honouring her. That has given me the biggest purpose. And it has really made a difference in my outlook over the last short period. And I really can't wait to get moving and literally and get on with some more planning. I've had some great feedback so far. Thank you to everyone that has given positive feedback in all sorts of ways. I've had offers of some equipment, advice. No one has said don't do it yet, apart from my knees playing up earlier on. But there we go. Only 20,000 steps today. We'll keep building up. But anyway, how have I survived 3 whole months without my Linda? In all the ways that I've mentioned, I've tried to interact with the right kind of people to help me, to guide me, to support me. And when I was in the darkest times, just to be there for me. The fact that someone can be there to listen, just to hold space for you, is all that you need sometimes. Because when you're used to being part of a couple and your other person is no longer there, it's a lonely place. There are 2 sides to things. There's loneliness and there's being alone. And both of them are horrible. So to have supportive people around you is such a key thing. And again, if you're watching this because you're in a similar situation, I do hope that you've got people that you can rely on. And if you need to, get in touch. I'm there as well. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, for commenting, for the likes I've had all across social media. You'll find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. It's all the same. I've not done this kind of thing before, so it's quite challenging. Like a challenge, you may have noticed. But I'm going to do a video next which will talk about Linda and how much Linda meant to me, because she is the most important person in my whole life. And I love Linda, and I always will. So that's it for today. Remember, it's a beautiful day. You're here for another beautiful day, so make the most of it. Take care.